It's out of Polk County, so your bond is $1,000. So I'm gonna put you in a car, and then we'll talk about what's going on, okay?
The inevitable conclusion to a meticulously planned but poorly executed fraud began not with a confrontation, but with a quiet request. On November 7, 2022, officers were dispatched to a Chase bank following a fraud report. Upon arrival, an officer calmly approached a man named Keon Bell, who was waiting inside, and asked him to have a seat. There was no immediate accusation, just a simple instruction to wait while the situation was sorted out. Keon, seemingly composed, sat down, his girlfriend Sarah Smith nearby. The quiet atmosphere of the bank lobby belied the serious financial crime that had just been thwarted. The real story was unfolding in a back office, away from the public eye. The officer met with a bank employee, who systematically laid out the entire scheme. It had started with a brazen act. Keon had deposited a fraudulent check for a staggering amount, nearly $25,000. The system, for a brief period, accepted the deposit. Seizing the opportunity, Keon immediately began to drain the funds. He first withdrew $3,000 from one teller. He then embarked on a whirlwind tour of other Chase branches, making numerous withdrawals from the fraudulent balance. His greed, however, would be his downfall.
Comes back in, tries to now take $8,000 out. When my teller goes through the transaction history, you'll see all the withdrawals from that $25,000 that he's cashing out.
Having already secured a significant amount of cash, Keon returned to the original branch, emboldened by his initial success. This time, his target was a larger sum, $8,000. But by then, the bank's internal security systems had caught up. The rapid multi-branch withdrawals had triggered red flags within the bank's back office. A prohibitive status was placed on the account, and his debit card was frozen just in time. The teller attempting to process the $8,000 withdrawal was met with a restriction. This was the moment the entire operation unraveled. The employee's suspicion was further piqued by the physical card Keon presented. It was fundamentally different from standard Chase cards. The bank issued embossed cards, where the numbers and letters are physically raised, a tactile security feature. The card Keon was using was embedded, with the details printed flat on the surface. It was a subtle but critical discrepancy that a trained teller would notice immediately. The employee knew they didn't use cards like that, confirming that not only was the money fake, but the tool used to access it was also a forgery.
This one raised?
No, this is embedded. It's not embossed where it sticks out like a braille. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah, I could show you mine. Come over here. So they're different. So those aren't on cards. Like, you don't use cards like that.
To solidify the case, the bank employee had already taken the crucial step of contacting the legitimate owner of the business, whose check had been forged. The owner, located in Ohio, confirmed their worst fears. She had not authorized any such check. In fact, she had been dealing with the fallout from this fraud all day. Her categorical denial provided the final piece of evidence the bank needed to involve law enforcement. The web of deceit Keon had woven was now fully exposed, backed by digital records, a forged instrument, and a direct statement from the victim.
They deposited a $24,000 check. Can you verify and make sure that that's there? She goes, no, we've been at the bank all day. She's like, please, we've been frauded and da-da-da-da. So I spoke with the owner. So she's never authorized anything.
Armed with this comprehensive evidence, the officer returned to the main lobby to speak with Keon and his girlfriend Sarah. The dynamic in the room shifted instantly. The officer began to question them, and Sarah's answers immediately raised suspicion. She attempted to create distance between herself and Keon, claiming she had not come to the bank with him, merely to meet him there. It was a weak attempt at dissociation, and the officer saw right through it. He pointed out the obvious inconsistency, noting that he had heard Keon affectionately call her BAE. The officer's questioning grew more pointed. He challenged Sarah on her story, highlighting the implausibility of her claims. Her initial defensiveness began to crack under the pressure of logical scrutiny. She was present, she was clearly involved with him on a personal level, and her attempt to portray herself as a coincidental bystander was failing. The tension mounted as the officer dismantled her narrative piece by piece, revealing her complicity, or at the very least, her dishonesty about the nature of their relationship, and her presence at the scene of the crime.
I lied.
You said you weren't with him.
I didn't come here with him. That's what the question was.
But you're here with him. You know him.
I came to meet up.
He called you babe.
Yeah.
Then you said you didn't have a wallet or a purse.
The situation reached its climax when the officer ran Keon's information through the system. Beyond the immediate fraud investigation, another issue surfaced. Keon had an outstanding warrant for his arrest from another county for failure to return funds. This warrant, though for a lesser amount, gave the officer immediate and undeniable grounds to take him into custody. The elaborate check fraud scheme was now secondary to a pre-existing legal problem. Keon was officially detained. his hands placed in cuffs. He was escorted out of the bank and placed into the back of a police car, the ambitious crime ending with a quiet and procedural arrest. With Keon removed from the scene, the officer's attention turned solely to Sarah. She was led back into the office for a formal interview to determine the extent of her involvement. Now separated from Keon, her story began to change, becoming more detailed and elaborate. She explained that she knew Keon through his brother, who was her friend. She painted a picture of a man recently released from jail, trying to get back on his feet.
So I only know of him because his brother is my friend. So when he got out of jail, he needed a new address.
According to Sarah, Keon's ex-girlfriend was refusing to give him his personal documents, including his social security card, making it impossible for him to secure a job or a new place to live. She claimed her role was purely supportive. She was helping him establish a new address and get his life in order. The most compelling part of her story involved Keon's mother, who she said was very ill. The entire purpose of their meeting at the bank, she insisted, was to prepare for a trip to go see his ailing mother. She framed her presence as an act of compassion, an effort to help a struggling man reconnect with his family during a difficult time. She stressed that the stress of the situation was particularly bad for a sick patient, attempting to evoke sympathy and portray their intentions as noble. Whether this story was a complete fabrication designed to absolve herself of guilt, or a skewed version of the truth remained unclear. However, her narrative was consistent and detailed enough that, without direct evidence linking her to the planning or execution of the fraud itself, the officer had no grounds to hold her.
First time, and I'm an only child, and stress is not good for a chemo patient, correct? To meet up with him so that me and him can go together to see my mom in the hospital.
In the end, the authorities made a decision. While Keon Bell was transported to jail to face a slate of serious charges, including uttering a forged check, defrauding a financial institution, and grand theft of between $20,000 and $100,000, Sarah was released. Lacking sufficient evidence to prove she was a willing participant in the crime, she was allowed to walk free. The day that began with a high-stakes financial crime ended with one partner facing years in prison, and the other walking away, leaving a trail of unanswered questions about what she truly knew.